For our third morning in Vumbura, we had planned to do an extended helicopter flight over the delta and also meet with some communities and conservation warriors. On our way to the helipad, we came across a pride of lions and decided to spend some time with them. Every single moment in Botswana just feels as close to heaven as one can possibly be. As the sun came up, it was time for us to leave the lions and head to the helipad. Every time I sit on a helicopter, there's a rush of adrenaline, which is absolutely unparalleled. And this time, our pilot took the doors off so we could enjoy the views unrestricted, but hopefully not fall off. As if all this was not enough, there was a moment where our pilot decided to do something absolutely crazy. He decided to turn the helicopter on its side, and I swear I felt like I was gonna fall off this helicopter. That moment felt completely unreal, if not the most risky situations I've ever been in. After the 45-minute flight, we finally reached a very remote area of the Okavango Delta to learn about the conservation activities being carried out by an organization along with communities to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. We're here in the middle of the Okavango Delta visiting a community, a non-governmental organization called CLAWS. It's communities living alongside wildlife sustainably, and it's something that is supported by wilderness. So we just came here and we have our beautiful members of the CLAWS family, which I will let them introduce themselves and the kind of work they do.
My name is P-R-O. So I'm from the Lion side. We started CLAWS as a Lion Research Program in 2014. So from 2014, that's when we started collaring some of the lions. we monitor their movement, then send some warning alerts to the farmers. So the reason for collaring them is just to see exactly where they move. If they come very close to cattle posts and villages, we warn farmers that lions are approaching the villages. The first geofence is about 5 kilometers. That's when they get the first warning alert message. From there, when the second one is 3 kilometers. The reason for this one is just for the safety of human beings. So for the first one is for them to know that lions are in the grazing area where these guys are heading their cattle, and even some of the unattended cattle which just roam around. And mostly it's more attacks are being killed happens when cattle just move on their own without eco rangers like these guys here. So some of the village, the farmers, they are not part of the program, the herding program. So their cattle are just roaming around. And few months back, lions were in this big island, and there were cattle all over. So 2 of the cattle were killed on the other side of the channel. So what we do is immediately when cattle are being killed by lions, farmers has to tell us that no, their cattle have been killed, so that we quickly go there to investigate, so that we have a correct ID to tell that no, it's not other predators, it's lions. Usually for lions, the government compensate. So even other farmers have that tendency of reporting, giving false reports, where they can even record or report a cow which died from natural death, that it's lions. That's why we make sure that immediately when it happens, we go there. When lions approach cattle posts or bomas, that's my main duty. So to make sure that I get into the brown cruiser, even at night, just to scare them using. These are my powerful weapons that I use. It's only that I cannot start it from here. I just wanted to show you the firecracker. When it bursts, the lions will respond, and we look how far they moved. So it's only we'll be checking using our GPS, and we download the waypoints each and every morning. It's only that today I failed to download the waypoints because of the unreliable network. So the reason why we scare the lions to move away from the grazing area is to avoid farmers poisoning them. There are those farmers who still have poisons, who still use this poison. Like on the 11th of September, we recorded that's 45 vultures which were found dead on a carcass, just in our nearby village here in Gudisuga. So that's why we make sure that whenever they approach, we make sure that we return them, at least for tourists to go and see them that side. If they get killed, then the tourists won't see any lion in the future. Even our kids. They will just hear stories that there used to be lions. This is not the things that we want to. That's why we make sure that even at night, if they wake me up saying a lion is approaching, I have to make sure that I respond.
I'm Kelly. I'm the Boma coordinator for CLOS. Our HEDI program started in year 2019. We started with one Boma in the village called Ereta. It's 3 to 2.5 kilometers away from this one. We have 3 bomas in 2 villages, 2 in Ereta, then 1 here in Gunzug. We have 632 cattle for all bomas. This one is the new boma. the mission for doing our heady is started, as I have said before, that we have 2 programs in one class, which is lion and heady program. Our mission is to mitigate wildlife conflict between human and wildlife. Yes, that is how we started. Because farmers, before we started the heading program, they were killing lion. Us as close, we wanted to protect lion, but at the end we have seen that we need to conserve both lion, human, and livestock. That's our mission.
And we have Wesley here from Wilderness. Can you share us a little bit about what Wilderness is seeking to do with the NGOs like Claws and where the involvement stands?
Yeah, I think we're always looking for ways to support great organisations, and Claws is one of those. Logistically is where we can sort of support. So we have 3 full-time monitors out in our Vumbura concession, which aids Pro here, the lion side of things, tracking the lions, understanding their movements, understanding the demographics as well. We need to know what the lion population is doing. But we're also then looking at supporting the Boma organization learning program as well. Looking at potentially buying beef as well, at a good price, which would be huge for the farmers and looking to change. So many different ways Wilderness is looking to support Claws. What I like about the program, what we like about the program really is it's a proactive approach, right? It's a prevention is better than a cure. So instead of waiting for there to be a kill and compensating, it's going out and it's trying to prevent those kills so we don't even have that problem. That's both through the herding program. They've got full-time herders with all the cattle all the time so they can move the cattle away from the threats. And then you've got Pro and his team who are going out there and moving the lions so there's as little sort of contact and therefore less conflict as possible.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned the youth of the village are employed as herders, so they kind of get a lot of employment through that as well, right?
Yes.
And they paid for it.
Yes, and also those farmers, when their cattle are being headed, they do sell them from BMC. And as he mentioned, right now, we are still pushing on how we can do our wildlife-friendly beef with the wilderness safaris. So that us and them, they decided to buy the beef from our program.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot of conversation about not having animal meat and whenever there's talks of conservation, climate change, global warming. But I guess in a place like this, cattle have been around for as long as people have been around. They've been domesticated, they've been used as livestock, they've been used for milk, they've been used for meat. So whether camps and tourism activities and tourists consume this meat or not, it's still being harvested. The cattle are still being grazed around. So better to have it in a sustainable cycle where the farmers benefit as a result of the cattle and get the money, and at the same time you are getting the food sent to tourist facilities or even the villages around, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so let's just take a little bit of a walk and see what we can find.
It started in year 2020 at those 2 bombers that we have there. This is very cruel because it's where it started, but it's coming slowly but slowly.
Does it spread between them?
Yeah, it is spread because at those bombers there,
Yeah.
we have separated the cattle, and here we are just waiting for the material so that we can take the sequence from the whole head.
So Wesley, just one question. Why don't the lions just jump into these?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. But it's most animals, when they see this sort of solid tarp sheet structure, it's just a solid object. There's nothing, they don't quite understand what's behind it, even though they can maybe hear and smell the cattle. There's just no interest to inspect it afterwards. So it's a really nice example of not overthinking too much. We could come up with this very fancy, expensive predator-proof boma, but this does the job. And what's really lovely about this is that it's mobile. So what they do is they keep the cattle in here about 7 to 10 days, depending on conditions, depending on the soil quality, and they'll actually move the boma as well. And what that does is it regenerates the soil. And Kelly was telling us earlier that it then allows farmers to potentially use that manure as fertilizer to grow crops. So a really elegant solution, sort of not overthinking, just doing sort of the simple is often sometimes the best.
Yeah. And how long has the clause program been doing this? Yeah.
They started in year 2019. The lion program started in 2014.
Wow. And since then, no lion has entered in the boma?
Since we started, we don't have the case of lion entered. Unless one in 2019, there was a free ranger cow that came and slept outside the boma, which is not our cattle.
Okay.
They just roaming around cattle, then it came out and sleep outside the boma. Then the lion ate it.
Yeah, but it was outside the boma, that's
Yes,
why.
yes.
Yeah. But inside they just see it as a wall that they can't do anything about. Very interesting. After an educational visit with Claus, it was time to meet with members of the local Setswana community.
It's a small village which consists of 1,000 plus people. So their life, most of their activities, they do them in the Okavango Delta.
We learned about the life of these communities in the Delta and the challenges they face living alongside wild animals. One of the village elders shared many stories with us.
When elephants started increasing from 1971, 1972, now those people now started seeing a lot of elephants and the conflict started. So elephants were raiding their crops.
The village elder even demonstrated how as a young man he was attacked by an elephant while walking in the bush. He thought he was surely going to die until others from the community found and rescued him. EcoExist works with communities such as this to mitigate human and animal conflict. Next, we learned about the different crops that are planted by communities here, how they sow the seeds, and the techniques they use to protect the farmlands from animals. One of the most interesting techniques we learned about was the chili fencing, in which they make bricks out of chili and burn them at strategic points within their farms to keep the animals at bay. The village ladies even demonstrated how they have to sleep next to their crops at night to protect them. And if in case the chili fencing fails, they have to resort to other techniques to scare the animals away. The send-off was as lively as our welcome. It was an incredibly enriching experience to meet the local communities living in the Delta and learn about their life and the difficulties they face and what organizations such as Claus and EcoExist are doing to mitigate human-wildlife conflict and alleviate the problems faced by local Setswana communities in this region.